Welcome back, traders. How are we doing today? Do we have an absolute banger in store for you guys? Going over a deep dive into ticker symbol GME a day before earnings. We get earnings tomorrow after market, and I wanted to go over why I think that this stock could actually see a pretty nasty move given the right circumstances, and we'll go over the three things that I believe those to be. And I wanted to, before we do that, go over a couple of different things with the earnings, guys. You have an 87% chance, according to Polymarket, which is the new wave of gambling, right? Let's be honest. But it says 87% chance that GME will beat its quarterly earnings, guys. Why is that important? It is important because this would be not just the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. This would be the sixth time in a row, guys, that GME has beat its earnings. Looking, though, ninth after hours, 18 cents per share. So that is our mark to beat. I do believe we're going to beat it in revenue, in profitability, because that has been the trajectory of this company. You see a lot of different things going on. And to be like 100%, to be honest, I don't believe that they have this thing priced in. I genuinely believe that because you see, I covered this in my short previously. Look at where the stock is valued today. The stock is valued today at $23. You traded 23 all the way back, guys, in, what is this, September of 2022? And as far as January of 2022. So the stock has completely 180'd its direction and hightailed any risk, right, that it was going to go bankrupt. And in the meantime has continued to disprove the short thesis on Gamestop while operating with $10 billion in cash on hand and $500 million in Bitcoin liquid assets. That is bullish, guys. But let's jump into the technical analysis because there is so much to talk about here on this chart that gets me genuinely excited. But before I do, slap the subscribe button if you find value, if you love the passion in which I speak, and let's jump straight into it, guys. So you have the RSI. I love to talk about this RSI band, the weekly time frame, because so often do you see these explosive moves, hightail off of them, and you typically see this mark the bottom. Now, we had this kind of drawn out falling wedge because I did believe that as a potential scenario, and I still do. But for this example, let's just delete that. What I believe here is every single time you've crossed the yellow line here on the RSI, that typically has marked your local bottom. You can see it happened at the exact same time you crossed here, March 25th, you moved 71%. You saw the same thing back in October, it marked your bottom, you moved 70 to 80 or to 68%, right? And then you saw the same thing in September. You saw it marked the bottom and you moved 26% before hitting your point of control on this stock, guys. Last video, if you guys weren't aware, we used the VRVP, the visible range volume profile, to find what the max resistance on this stock was. Now, what did that give us? It actually gave us the exact rejection point of the September run. So I would anticipate a retest of that if you're going to see this explosion northwards. A break of $28, guys, in my opinion, is the level shorts guard. It is the level institutions that are short this thing are absolutely terrified of, because once you break, you see candles like this, right? Well, boom, right? Boom, boom candles, up 16% on a week. And you see this thing get very volatile very quickly. See the rejections off of it are nasty every single time. And so that's our level that we should be looking to break if you're going to see that squeeze volume or that momentum wave begin to trickle in. But I wanted to talk about something beyond the RSI band, something new, something that I myself need to get a little bit more accustomed with, because in doing a little bit more due diligence, you can see here this MACD falling wedge. And in case you guys didn't know, you can chart the lines that the MACD represents. right? You see this channel here forming. And so often, when you see this weekly MACD cross in this channel, you've seen it come up to the resistance, and then that's your top, right? And that was your top in September. You then came down, and what you did was you've tested this long-term trend line going all the way back to April or March of 2022. You tapped it here on the bottom. You tapped it here on your bottom before moving up, what was that, 25% the next week. And then you've just now tapped it at the pinnacle of your falling wedge within the MACD. So beyond that, guys, you are just now getting your MACD weekly flip. And in case you guys haven't heard, this is literally one of my favorite indicators, especially on GME, because it is flatline consistent, y'all. You go back to September, you see a bump up. You go back to April, you still see a bump up. You go back to October, you see a bump up. And that correlates every single time you get your MACD flip. Now you are beginning to get that green switch flipped while you cross your macro resistance line here on the MACD. Now, what does that mean? In my opinion, that's telling me that if this is truly your breakout here, you're going to come to the 50 line on the MACD, and every single time this blue band crosses the 50 line is where you get the most explosive, the most volatile moves on this stock. You saw it here when you got that cross. Look at the blue line here, crossing through this center line. That inevitably ran you to absolute Pluto, guys. You went bananas. You saw another example here where you kind of sliced through and you flirted with it before rejecting. So rejection here is totally possible. Another example here is this 17% weekly candle. But what we're looking for is something along the lines of this absolute crazy move. And the fact that it's happening at the same time as the RSI band crossing, it's a beautiful, technically confluent move. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. Getting above $28 is going to be crucial if you want to see this thing begin to squeeze or begin to run, right? The second thing is the MACD. I want to see this weekly MACD see a follow through on this cross. And if you see that, guys, I do believe price action will actually follow. Barring, right, that you don't get this rejection off of your previous year-long uptrend, it's going to be a struggle to get above this $24 zone. And you're going to need some either very positive fundamental news or something along the lines of a Michael Burry crazy tweet, a Roaring Kitty crazy tweet, more Ryan Cohen tinfoil, right? You're going to need something to push you above and beyond this uptrend. And once you crack back into it, I do believe this thing, if you could hold, is going to get very volatile. And then the third thing, guys, I wanted to cover on GameStop. I have to go back into Webull for this. GME Corp. So you are getting your 9-day EMA crossing above the 50 right now. And typically when that happens, guys, you get some very, very crazy volatility to come back into the stock. It is currently happening as we speak. However, the volume is so dry here and has continued to go down going into earnings. I expect whatever direction you break, whether it be up or down, that you either fill the gap or you come up here and you test the 200. Because of how illiquid the stock is right now, it's just going to take one large buy order and you'll break this downtrend on volume. And once that happens, guys, I anticipate a large swing in either direction. So not surprised to see it happen during earnings. But you do have your gap fill sitting currently at 2183. So that is a potential level. We'll mark it for you to come down during that volatile earnings swing, right? But on the bright side, on the good side for GameStop, you are sitting above your 50-day EMA. That is short-term bullish. And if you can get above the 200, even better, right? Then you'll really be cooking up a storm and you'll start to see that momentum build and snowball. Hopefully, hopefully you don't just get absolutely Band-Aid ripped, but we'll see. Only time will tell. Patience pays. And this stock has really, really tested a lot of people's patience. So this throwback is kind of crazy. We covered this all last month, guys. If you guys were with us, you know we covered this falling wedge. You broke the work cooked trend line, throwback, got above it, and now you're testing the bottom of this previous support, new resistance, breaking back into it, guys, would be absolutely phenomenal. So that's what I'm expecting tomorrow. That is what I am hoping for tomorrow with your upside price targets sitting at $28. Your shelf of resistance of the POC, your previous gap at $28.50, and then your previous gap at $30. Now, what happens once you get above that? Well, you have an absolute mission ahead if this thing were to get squeezy. And that mission, once you get above 30, guys, I am not worried at all until you get all the way up here at $40. Typically, when you get into 30, guys, you see the price teleport. It gets like a vacuum, right? Things ramp up very, very quickly once you get past your point of control on this stock. So $40 is totally in the realm if you are able to cross this. It also happens to land on your previous support trend of your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, 6th touch would be that $40 uptrending resistance. So a spot to watch. Above that, we have our all-time price target on Gamestop, our $72 or $73 gap fill that you created back here in 2021, guys, during your squeeze, during the short-term MOS. But what I'm watching here, guys, I'm watching this short interim move. I'm watching the fundamentals on Gamestop continuously improve. And I'm just genuinely grateful for this community. I'm grateful for what Ryan Cohen's been able to do for us. And I want to see underneath the hood, right? I want to see the engine. What is this man doing with our capital? And how can he evolve or transform this company? So much that can happen on GameStop. I wanted to cover the warrants before I get into anything else. The warrants on GME flagging out with a doji here. And you are now seeing officially your daily golden cross for the first time ever on this stock. Volume ramping down while in a consolidation period, which is overall bullish. And what are you down from the high so far? Down 16% from the high. Not surprising at all. Let's go to the 4-hour chart. And let's begin to trend this out, right? Let's see. So you have an established downtrend and you have your established uptrend. Now, this is a bull flag formation. I'll make it a little bit more pretty for you guys. This is a technical bull flag formation in which I would expect, if you could see this breakout, guys, if you could see this breakout, you're going to take that leg, that flagpole, and stick it on top of the flag breakout, right? That was your break. More extended of a flagpole from the break. That theoretically takes you to $7. So if you're going to see this squeeze-esque moment with the warrants, you're going to see $7. But first, you're going to see resistance at 6 because that is your previous all-time high. So that's my price target on the warrants. You faked out a 4-hour MACD cross on the daily time frame. You're still good. You do have a gap sitting right around $3. So if this thing's going to crash during earnings, you're going to fill that gap and you're going to see a test of the golden cross, which would be, in my opinion, a great opportunity to long, not financial advice. But what is genuinely going to happen, right? I do believe you're going to see this beat earnings of 18 cents per share. And if I'm available, I will cover right after or maybe live stream the earnings. But one thing for sure, guys, thank you for helping me get to 1,000 subscribers. We are on the road to 100K. So make sure to slap the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you guys hear every single post. God bless each and every single one of your families. And remember, the best is yet to come, guys. Peace.